Moving on to sanding the front now. It's a little tedious, but I think the end results will be well worth it. Now, you've probably heard many times, always sand with the grain. When you're working with something like this, you can throw that out the window because we've got this sort of burled veneer which has a twisted grain, but it's sort of going vertically, but then we got the inlays going horizontally. So you drive yourself crazy trying to just sand carefully this way and there, that way, and then you've got these inset pieces of wood. Now, of course, we have existing finish on it, so we're not going to get down to the wood anyways, so I'm just going right across it. The idea is to remove the topmost layer, get rid of the surface imperfections as much as we can, and to prep it for accepting a new layer. Now, you've probably heard of sandpaper grits. I'm using 220 on this. And you may wonder, why does 220 exist? What's magical about 220? Why is it so common? It's because the size of the scratches that are left behind are such that the new finish will adhere to it very well. There's no point in going to 600, 800, 1,000 grit between layers, because a new layer is just going to melt into it anyways, and you want it to be rough so it adheres to it well. In the final stages of this process, we'll get rid of surface irregularities and make it super smooth and shiny, so don't worry about that. Now we just want to prepare it for the new finish. As I say, this area was the worst damage. Not surprisingly, that's where the channel selector is, so that's why it has the most wear from somebody turning a channel selector so much. It's worn a groove in here, and we've got some scuffs here. I am holding out hope that when I put on the new finish, it will get in there and that surface marring will pretty much disappear. Now, after spraying this on, we're still going to have some depressions and some voids to fill in. I picked up some powdered shellac, and we're going to mix that with some denatured alcohol and make our own filler repair compound and put it in so we can fill in things like that with a small brush. Well, we'll talk about more of that when we get to it, but right now we're going to spray on some new shellac. Now let's tackle this damaged veneer. A piece of it broke away down to the bare substrate. So what I want to do is make a patch from some vintage salvaged mahogany veneer that's a close grain and color match. Before I apply it, I want to prepare the surface, so I took a little knife and scraped away some old glue residue and then chamfered the edges. So this originally had broken out. It was pretty much vertical, a 90-degree angle where the veneer had broken out. So I took a knife and went about a 45-degree angle and sliced around down in there. Now when I find the patch, I'm going to orient the grain in the same way and roughly cut it out to the same shape but make it larger, and I'm going to back cut a corresponding angle on it and load up some glue and then really clamp it down hard. I'm going to leave some overlap in there. After the glue sets up, we're going to scrape and sand it level to get a seamless repair. And I'll try using the hide glue again on this. Alright, let's see what we can do. Now, you can get new veneer, but I will warn you that it tends to be thinner than the old stuff. I feel if I put this piece down next to it, this is up a bit higher. So you'd want to double that up or put something underneath to build it up a little bit. But I have squirreled away a lot of stuff scavenged from cabinets, so we can dig through that. So now and then I come across cabinets that are water damaged, the veneer's falling off, so I just peel it off and save the scraps. And that's where I get my repair stuff done. And there's another piece of new stuff. So they're similar, but of course this has some old finish on it too. That's why I was saying that this really doesn't have any color added to it, because this is raw mahogany and it's the same color. This has brown mahogany toner lacquer on it, much darker. But if I do go with a piece of this, I'll remove that old finish or sand it off as I level it out. So I'm not going to be too hung up on the color right now. What I want to find is a piece that looks Very similar. Now, one good thing working in our favor is mahogany is pretty consistent. It's a tight grain. It was very, very commonly used back then, so it's not too hard to get a match. Might actually be walnut. Basically, everything, or 90+% of the cabinets were mahogany or walnut, with the majority being mahogany. Find a smaller scrap so I don't have to use it on my bigger pieces. There we go. Some smaller scraps I can work with. Yeah, I'll go with this. This is one case where I kind of wish I was using toner lacquer, because that would tend to blend out any color differences. But let's take off some of this finish and see what the color, or I could just flip it over so you can see this is what the raw color looks like. Now I scraped the residual glue off of this, but there is some on the back of this, so I'm going to want to take that off. I could glue it down from either side really, but since this side is a little more refined, I'll go with that. Let's take an area and sand that finish down a little bit. See what the underlying color is. I'll use some lacquer thinner on it. Let's speed this process along. But yeah, I think that grain and that'll look fine. It's also in the least conspicuous part of the cabinet at the back on one side, so shouldn't get too obsessive about it. Let's do a little rubbing with a pencil here on a piece of paper and see if we can get the template going. Maybe cutting the veneer out. Alrighty, so we want a piece that's like that shape. I want to make it bigger than what I really need. So we want to feather it. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, so on the back side, it's like some 220 grit, and I'm going to feather it. And we're going to glue it and smash it down. Let the glue sets up and trim it and roll it down. A lot better already, isn't it? Alright. Just put some glue down and let this set up a little bit, and then I will clamp it thoroughly. I'll put a board on either side of the cabinet with a long clamp to really smush it down, and then we'll trim it up and sand it down and proceed. After the glue's set up, scraped down a bit to level it out, trimmed off the excess, a little light sanding, and it is nice and flush. Color difference, right? Sure. There's no finish on this. But once there is, color match should be pretty darn good. So let's get some shellac on there for starters. And there it is after brushing on a little shellac. I can live with that. Now let's finish sanding the rest of this. Spray some shellac over the whole side. And then we are going to mix up some of this powdered shellac that just arrived with some denatured alcohol and do some repairs, mostly on the top. Alright, let's give this a try. Powdered shellac, denatured alcohol, shot glass, and a brush. A little bit of alcohol in here, a little bit of powder. It's taking longer to dissolve than I would have thought. Supposedly one of the advantages of using powder versus flakes is it dissolves faster. It's about the consistency I want to. I want to make it kind of gooey, and then I want to put drops of it. It's getting clearer, that's good. It's supposed to be crystal clear. And then we dab this on areas where we've got chips in the finish to fill them in. Okay, it's pretty goopy now. Just put a little dab there. We've got a bigger area of loss over here. What the old timers would have done is would have had a shellac stick, which would be like solid shellac, and they'd melt it in, but I don't have that, so I will make do with this. It'll take a while to cure up, and then I'll sand it flush, etc. There's that scar over here. We'll go around the rest of the cabinet looking for any voids in the finish. A small one here. A little bit of a ding there. And there. What I don't know is how long will this take to fully cure. It's already getting pretty stiff, and it's melting into the shellac I sprayed on earlier too. Alright, don't want to put it on too thick, otherwise it'll take forever to dry. So I'm going to have to do several passes, but that's the idea. That's what the pros do. They don't buy shellac in a spray can. They buy the flake or the powder. They mix it up as needed. I imagine once it solidifies, you could put alcohol on it and rejuvenate it and keep going. Or put it in a jar with the lid on it to keep the air out so it won't dry out. It actually set up pretty darn quickly, and boy, it is crystal clear as advertised. The only downside is I need to sand away the excess, but as far as filling in the voids, fantastic. And this area was especially bad, where there was some finish degradation, and we can see the grain. It's supposed to be perfectly smooth, so you can tell when you're done when you don't see any shiny spots. And I have all these little dots here. I want those to go away, so it's an unpleasant, tedious way to do it, but that's the idea. Other areas a little more straightforward, like here where there was a void. I just need to get this all leveled down. And once that's done, we'll put on a few coats of lacquer, and we gotta deal with this black edge, and that should be about it. Just about done with the shellac repairs. A little bit more to do, but it's an absolutely perfect day, both just comfort-wise, but also for spraying. So I want to start putting on some lacquer. So I'm going to do the sides because they don't need any repairs other than that splice patch I did on the other side. So as usual, light sanding 220 grit, and then what I've been using from my projects for a while now is Mohawk pre-catalyzed clear gloss lacquer for the top coats. So lightly sand 220, wipe it down with a microfiber cloth, spray on a couple coats, let that sit for a while, put on a couple more coats. I think I can do both sides. Yes, there's that repair down there. Ideally, I would have done the black trim already. I'll do that later. I'll have to mask off the cabinet, apply that, and I have a little bit more work to do on these patches. The mixing my own shellac worked really well. They're pretty well all filled in. I just need to do a little more sanding to level them down. Now, one thing you might encounter, and I may very well encounter, is when you do the patches, where the patches are, after you put on the top coats, the sheen might be slightly different, because as you're looking down through the layers of finish and the light's refracting and doing its thing, this is going to be a slightly different composition than other areas of the cabinet. It's just something to be aware of. But, you know, such is the way it goes. A little bit more work to do on the front, but it's coming along pretty well. This is the area that was especially bad. It's all smooth and leveled. It's a little odd looking though, well, it's because the finish got damaged. Not looking for perfection here, just want to make it look a lot better. And then both, especially in this area and to a lesser extent in this area, we had a lot of open pores. Still want to do a little more sanding there. But even as it is, it turned out better than I had hoped given the condition of the finish, and I think it'll be a breeze to wrap this up. Here it is after a few passes of the lacquer. I'll let this sit a while, light sand, more coats, you know the drill. I think it's looking better and better with each coat.